What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. I wanted to continue my little series here for exotic weapons and legendary weapons that I think are going to carry beautifully into Lightfall, even with all the changes in patch notes and everything that they've been coming out with so far. And there's going to be so much more in the future with this huge update. I do think that these exotics, at least in this video here and the series, are going to hold the test of time, basically no matter what season we take it into, unless they totally absolutely destroy a certain subset of weapon like fusion rifles, shotguns, pulse rifles, something like that. But this right here is our energy weapons that will hold tried and true for a good long while. Starting number one on this list for energy weapons in the exotic slot, we're going with the Merciless Solar Fusion Rifle. Now, this thing absolutely daps enemies up inside of the PvE realm, partially because of its trait Impetus. Reloading immediately after a kill increases weapon damage for a short period of time, so it's almost like a rampage or a swashbuckler kill clip situation where you have to get a defeat, reload to get that extra bit of damage. Now, with the catalyst, you can see we get that nice juicy buff to range and stability, which really help with that damage buff because of its intrinsic trait. Non-lethal hits with projectiles make this weapon charge faster until the wielder gets a defeat. So when we're taking this to a boss champion, this thing gets revved up when you're not hitting those final defeats with this weapon, and it is insane how many shots you can get off with this weapon when it's fully ramped up. Next on the list is an arc weapon, which we do have a few of them in the RISKRUNNER SMG. This thing pairs wonderfully with that arc 3.0 synergy for a few reasons. First off, we have that arc conductor. When we take arc damage, this weapon becomes more powerful and resistant to incoming arc damage. Kills extend the time for this overcharged state. Now with that, we have our RISKRUNNER catalyst that gives us some nice range to this, allowing us to hit those farther enemies that are shooting us with shot cannons, those sniper shanks, anything like that. And really the reason that this thing is juiced in PvE, especially for Ad Clear and Arc 3.0 synergy, is Superconductor right here. When the Superconductor Arc Conductor is active, that right down there, when we take arc damage, shots fired have a chance of chaining lightning and returning ammo. So when we get hit with an arc shot, we have that nice more powerful and resistance to damage, plus we basically have subsistence proc with chaining of lightning for Ad Clear, like Volt Shot is on other weapons in the legendary shot. So definitely be bringing this bad boy into Lightfall for that Ad Clear and arc potential. Third on the list is another banger for arc weapons and Ad Clear in general. We got the Trinity GHOUL exotic arc bow. So first off, for that intrinsic trait, fires arrows that split when released, aiming down sights and fully drawing the bow back decreases that spread. This is super nice because of its lightning rod perk, so precision kills grant the next shot to chain lightning capabilities. Now with the catalyst, a lightning rod triggers on any arc damage final blows. This even means from abilities, other weapons, whatever it might be. So we can get lightning rod to proc, and then it shoots out some crazy triple shot Ad Clear potential where it can hit the ground. You chain lightning to enemies. Very key for some of that end game content for sure, especially if we're getting changes with our mods to deal with barrier champions, overload champions, such like that. Very interesting to see where this will land in the meta next season with Lightfall. Moving on to the ultimate support weapon still, even with its nerf, Divinity Trace Rifle. Now this right here stuns overload champions intrinsically, and sustained damage with this weapon envelops a target in a weakening field. So this field is what we use to do some gnarly damage, giving us that precision shot damage everywhere inside of that bubble. So you can see penance right here, targets under the effect of judgment long enough are stuck with a burst of damage. So this helps when we're sticking that target as well to give that DPS bubble. It does a little extra damage itself when you have it on there for long enough. So even though this thing is down to 15%, very easy to pair it with a tether, something like that, and it gives the potential for linear fusions, snipers, to have gigantic crit spots instead of something like a Vex that has that little circle for its chest. Moving on to the back half of our list here, we got TICUU'S Divination Solar Exotic Bow. Now this is a very similar version to Trinity Ghoul, but in the solar version. We have tracking arrows, Sacred Flame. When you hit fire, fires multiple arrows that track the projectiles. Targets marked with these projectiles explode upon death or when struck by another Sacred Flame's explosion. We can get that immediate explosion to happen with perfectly drawn arrows that detonate Sacred Flames, also increase the damage of these. Striking targets unaffected, increase the causality arrow duration, which causality arrow is fires from aiming down sights, cause Sacred Flames to instantly detonate. So that's how we get those tracked projectiles to instantly detonate when we ADS. Precision shots, while perfect draw arrows increase the power of this detonation. So we're able to explode targets in that solar capacity, very similar to Trinity Ghoul, but with solar synergy, spreading scorch, spreading that AoE damage of those explosion. So very good for damage with this as well, to stick a couple of those hit fires on an enemy and then detonate it immediately with that ADS shot. So a very good bow for endgame content in the exotic slot, especially for that solar burn. Moving on right here to the Dead Messenger exotic grenade launcher that gives us the versatility of using all three elements. It has the fundamentals, so when we hold our reload button, we can switch between solar, arc, and void. Now both of these all give us effectiveness on our weapon as well. So solar gives us increased reload and aerial effectiveness, arc gives us handling and range, void gives us stability and aim assist. So this is very similar to elemental capacitor, but we can switch it on and off with this Dead Messenger. Now when we pair that with the Trinary Vision intrinsic on this, shoots a one-handed grenade launcher that releases 3 waves on the ground when it makes contact. So wave frames, I love them, we all know that, and this thing takes that top tier spot for exotics especially, but Forbearance close second with that chain reaction, Ambitious Assassin, but the ability for this to have the catalyst as well and get the potential of switching armor burn so you can take down any match game, which is getting some changes, but this thing is still killer for endgame content. And last but not least, we're bringing in the Manticore Void SMG that we got from this season. Now this thing I absolutely love for an SMG and pairs very well with volatile rounds. So first off, we have Soaring Fangs, dealing damage while grounded, charge anti-gravity repulsors. Dealing damage when we're airborne extends those anti-gravity repulsors, so we do damage on enemies, get that charged up, then we can jump up in the air and continue to shoot this weapon for a good long period of time. Now that is good because we have Swooping Talent, so dealing damage while airborne increases this damage output, and with the catalyst, final blows of this while airborne grant damage resistance, so we get airborne resistance while dealing more damage, and you just float around like you have Wings of Sacred Dawn on in a Warlock, but you can do it with any character, something like the GHOUL Falcon's Hunter with those unlimited volatile rounds. This thing is nasty. So hopefully all of these are good for y'all and y'all can grab them before the end of the season heading into Lightfall, because I do think, like I said at the beginning, they will hold for the time and into the future for sure. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.